Well, more now on that U.S. brokered deal, which could end the fighting in Ukraine. Rob Huebert is the director of the Center for Military Security and Strategic Studies. Joins us this morning. Rob, we always appreciate your time. Let's first just start with some of the key details that stand out for you in this plan as we've seen it so far.
Well, the key elements are the manner in which the Americans, first of all, didn't talk to the Ukrainians, talked to the Russians, and then brought forward basically a set of requirements that Russia has been pursuing. Russia gets to hold on to all the territory that it has seized by military force, by invasion. The Ukrainians have to reduce the size of their armed forces. The Ukrainians cannot have any type of membership within NATO, basically leaving the Ukraine completely at Russian mercy for any future developments in terms of that ongoing issue. And I mean, I think it's a disservice to refer to it as a peace plan. It's a term of almost surrender on the part for the Ukrainians in terms of what the Russians are getting and what the Ukrainians are getting out of it.
And so, you know, given those details, what are the prospects for a lasting peace should we see an agreement that is close to this one put in place?
Well, if we use any form of a historical comparison, and it is difficult always to use history in this context, we think of Czechoslovakia. And Czechoslovakia, remember, they were not involved with the negotiations. It was between Britain, France, Germany, and Italy. And in that context, Czechoslovakia had to surrender a very significant amount of geography. And ultimately, Germany moved in and took over all of Czechoslovakia. It seems like we're setting up a similar type of situation for the Ukrainians. So to call it a lasting peace, probably a chance to give the Russians to catch their breath from if the particular agreement goes forward as it is being released.
I have to ask you, Rob, why would the U.S. be part of a deal that is so favorable to Russia? What does it gain from a deal like this?
It's difficult to see because the type of discord it's creating amongst its own allies, because obviously the European NATO nations are looking at this and saying, where is this coming? Where is the consultations? Because there weren't any on that. And it seems as if there are two possible explanations, but difficult to know with certainty. The first one, again, is this ongoing connection or relationship that Trump seems to have with Putin. Again, all the way back to that meeting in Helsinki when, of course, he meets privately without anyone else, and it's always the red carpet for Putin. And so that seems to be part of it. The second part is that Trump seems so obsessed with the fact that Obama has gotten a Nobel Peace Prize and he hasn't, that as much as one doesn't want to think that it's such a personal element that is driving him, it seems as if he wants to be known as a peacemaker no matter what the cost anyone else has to suffer. And these two seem to be coming together a little bit, because it's difficult to see anything else that the Americans are going to get out of this.
Let's talk about European reaction. What do you expect to hear in the coming days from the European Union and just European players in general?
Well, the major thing that we're hearing from the Europeans, of course, is that, first of all, shocked. They weren't consulted. And then when they saw the terms of what was being negotiated between the Russians and the Americans on this, because I think they fully appreciate what it is basically the terms of surrender for Ukraine. Because remember, even they have to have an election, so that means probably Zelensky gets replaced immediately with all of the government. And so I think the critical thing to be watching the Europeans is how stiff is their support for the Ukrainians at this point. In other words, if the Ukrainians turn around and say, we can't live with this so-called peace plan, and the Europeans turn around and say, yeah, we're going to have to be increasing the amount of aid that we're providing to the Ukrainians, that probably will be one message. On the other hand, if we see the Europeans sort of say, well, I guess there's no choice but to accept this, then basically they're not going to be talking about increased military support to the Ukrainians. That's going to be the key point, I think, in the next few days.
Okay, and obviously nothing signed yet, but we'll see what happens, as you mentioned, over the next couple of days. Rob, we always appreciate your insight. That is Rob Huebert, the director of the Center for Military Security and Strategic Studies.